My name is Léna Roy, and I am a reader and a writer and a supreme lover of books. And I am very grateful to be here today to talk to you about banned books and to read from one of my all-time favorite books, A Wrinkle in Time, which has been on the top 10 banned book list for the past 50 years. Now you might think, what's a nice little fantasy book? Like A Wrinkle in Time. Who's going to have some beef with that? You might be thinking that, right? I know you are. You're nodding your head. You want to know. Well, let me tell you. There are all different kinds of people in the world, right? And my grandmother was considered to be a Christian writer. So the Christians had a beef with the happy medium in this book, because she was too out there, woo-woo, new agey. And they thought the Mrs. W's, Mrs. Who, Mrs. What's It, Mrs. Witch, were actual witches. So she got a lot of notoriety from that part of the world, mostly in the South. And then other people thought that her book was too Christian, that was too many Christian themes in it. So it's been one of the most popular banned books of all time. Now, I think that anything that gets kids to read is wonderful. That reading helps us explore ourselves and our horizons and takes us to places where we might never go. It helps us explore and expand our imaginations. It gives us vocabulary. So anything that gets us into the world of books and reading is a good thing. So I don't think that any book should be banned. I think that it should be up to parents what kids read, and then up to kids themselves when they're older what they should read. So, and I'm a firm believer in that, and in writing too. I think kids need to explore their world through writing as well. I had an interesting experience last spring where I did a writing workshop at a library, and the passage that I'm going to read from, they did not want me to read from this passage because they thought it was too political or parents would get upset or something. So I'm going to read you this passage. This happens to be one of my favorite passages in the book and kind of the message of the book. So I just kind of I'd love to hear your opinion on what I read and what you think about it, because everything is it's a great precipice, I guess, for discussion, right? So even if you don't like something, we don't want to stop other people from reading it or exploring it or having an opinion about it, right? I mean, we want real discussion here. So I wish you were right here with me so you could tell me what you think, but maybe you'll come track me down. How about that? Okay. So I'm reading a part from A Wrinkle in Time in the chapter called The Black Thing. And this is where the black thing, or it, is kind of the embodiment of evil in A Wrinkle in Time. Let's see. "I hate it!" Charles Wallace cried passionately. "I hate the dark thing!" Mrs. Whatsit nodded. "Yes, Charles dear, we all do. That's another reason we wanted to prepare you on Uriel. We thought it would be too frightening for you to see it first of all about your own beloved world." "But what is it?" Calvin demanded. "We know that it's evil, but what is it?" "You have said it," Mrs. Witch's voice rang out. "It is evil. It is the powers of darkness." "But what's going to happen?" Meg's voice trembled. "Oh, please, Mrs. Witch, tell us what's going to happen." "We will continue to fight." Something in Mrs. Witch's voice made all three of the children stand straighter, throwing back their shoulders with determination, looking at the glimmer that was Mrs. Witch with pride and confidence. And we're not alone, you know, children, came Mrs. Whatsit, the comforter. All through the universe it's being fought, all through the cosmos, and but it's a grand and exciting battle. I know it's hard for you to understand about size, but there's very little difference in the size of the tiniest microbe and the greatest galaxy. You think about that, and maybe it won't seem strange to you that some of our very best fighters have come right from your own planet. And it's a little planet, dears, out on the edge of the galaxy. You can be proud that it's done so well. Who have our fighters been? Calvin asked. Oh, you know them, dear, Mrs. Whatsit said. Mrs. Who's spectacles shone out at them triumphantly. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. Jesus, Charles Wallace said. Why, of course, Jesus. Of course, Mrs. Whatsit said. Go on, Charles, love. There were others. All your great artists. They've been lights for us to see by. Leonardo da Vinci, Calvin suggested tentatively. And Michelangelo? And Shakespeare, Charles Wallace called out. And Bach, and Pasteur, and Madame Curie, and Einstein. Now Calvin's voice rang with confidence. And Schweitzer, and Gandhi, and Buddha, and Beethoven, and Rembrandt, and St. Francis. Now you, Meg, Mrs. Whatsit ordered. Oh, Euclid, I suppose. Meg was in such agony of impatience that her voice grated irritably. And Copernicus. But what about Father? Please, what about Father? We are going to your father, Mrs. Witch said. And I think I'm going to stop there. Now, do you see why that maybe it was banned? Maybe that part was banned? It boggles my mind. If you can explain it to me, I will take you out for a hot chocolate. Okay? Got it? Deal? There's more people coming up, so enjoy this video. Thank you.